Got you back in here, bro.
We're back, man. We're back like we never left. It's so good to be here. You know, I love the setup, and I always love talking basketball. And I know you talk all sports, but it's always great coming here and talking basketball with you, bro.
Yeah, man. Last time that I had you on, I got some good feedback, and I really enjoyed that conversation. We did dive into, like, your background and your, like, playing overseas and whatnot, so definitely go check that out. But Combo's back. Combo's court in the building. I like how on time you were.
Oh, yeah.
Like, to the exact minute. You're like, yeah, I'll be here 10:30. And then I get the text, yeah, I'm outside. I was like, God, this motherfucker, man. Look at him go.
That's half the battle, getting there on time.
Yeah.
The only time it's better to be late than early is off a screen. Remember that.
Okay. I like that. You got to make that a shirt, bro. You definitely got to make that a shirt.
That's a fact, because sometimes, you know, some people come off too early off those screens and picks, and they don't let things develop. So you got to let it simmer when you're coming off that screen.
We're coming into the last couple of games. It's like a handful of games, maybe even less. It's like the last week home stretch of basketball. I think actually this Sunday it might be the last game of the regular season, so it's even less. I think there's like one or two games left. I really dive into the NBA after football ends, but I do keep tabs. I got League Pass and all that. I want to start off with the biggest headline, and it got to be the Lakers, right? Like, look.
What a disaster.
What a disaster. And you want to talk about a bad take that I had. I was listening to some of my predictions from the beginning of the year, and it was basically how I love the Russ move to the Lakers.
Ooh.
Mostly because I felt like it was a regular season move, right? You knew AD was going to miss some time because his whole career he misses time. And you know LeBron's getting up there in age, so maybe they rest him on a back-to-back or something along those lines. And then you could let Russ do his Oklahoma City Thunder stuff, right? Run the point, get his triple doubles, get everyone involved. So I'm like, you know what? Those Wednesday nights in Cleveland or in Washington, like they could get away with that, right? Talk about crashing and burning, man. What do you make of the Lakers from what you've seen all year? I mean, they're out the playoffs, which I don't think I've ever seen a team that was the preseason favorite from a betting standpoint not even make the playoffs, bro.
Yeah.
This is like a Mount Rushmore collapse, failure, whatever you want to coin it, whatever word you want to throw, that's the kind of thing we're looking at with the Lakers.
Look, Russ, it wasn't a good fit.
Yeah.
I think all of NBA Twitter even talked about it. And NBA Twitter is wrong a lot, right? But they were right on this one. Everybody knew it was a bad fit. But it's all not Russ's fault, right? And I don't think it's all Frank Vogel's fault. It's not one person. But I would say a lot of this comes down to AD not coming into the season in shape. He's one of those stars that needs to be in shape because he's the vocal point of this offense along with LeBron James. And LeBron James always comes in shape, and he played great this season. I think AD needs to get it together in the off seasons, and that's where it all starts from. It's just been a bad fit. There's been injuries. They made really bad decisions in the past when it comes to roster construction, letting KCP go, letting Caruso go, guys that defend, guys that can hit the three, guys that are a little bit younger. They chased after names, and on roster, if you had all these guys in their prime, it might look a little bit different. But I think that's where a lot of the issues stem from.
Yeah, you're right. It all looks good on paper, but this also would have looked phenomenal 5 years ago.
Right.
Real quick, just move that mic just a little bit closer to you.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's weird, right? Like, you gave up a lot to bring Russ in. And I don't want to just point the blame all at Russ or Vogel. And I think the one thing you could kind of point blame at is the backup plan to AD being out. Because you just have to factor in this dude. Yo, he's had over 50 injuries, different injuries, on injury reports.
It's
so,
crazy.
like, you just have to expect him to miss time. And they didn't really have anything behind him. And I also have a problem with one of the reasons why I don't like this teams like the Sixers, teams like the Wolves. I have a problem building my team with a big man being my go-to scorer.
I like the Wolves.
You do like the Wolves.
And as great as Cat is, I think Anthony Edwards is that guy. I talked about this, and we're going to get to the MVP conversation, but I think he's in that conversation by the year 2024, I would say.
Okay.
And I think you could build around him, and Cat being that number 2 guy who will be probably a top 10 player himself at that point. That's why I like that team so much. And Pat Bev is bringing them all that toughness as well. So I like that team a lot. The Sixers, that's a totally different issue, and that hasn't looked too good with the acquisition of Harden. But Embiid is obviously playing at a MVP level.
Now, we'll get to the Sixers in depth in just a sec, but I want to go back to the Lakers. And the reason why I even brought up that point is, I don't know, man, there's just something about, like, I want my wing to be my guy. You know, I always, the litmus test for me is I call it the 5-5-5-5 deal, right? It's like it's game 5. It's a 2-2 series. You're on the road. 5 minutes left. You're down 5. What's the 5 out there? Who's your go-to guy? And for me, I feel like you're a little limited if it's your big.
I would say so. I would say so in the modern NBA. You want flexibility. And to your point, that top 5 matters even more than depth, in my opinion. Like, you don't need 12 good guys in the playoffs.
Oh, I mean, you see it all the time.
Yeah.
You narrow it down to at most 8
Exactly.
rotations.
Exactly. As long as everybody stays healthy, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, you're absolutely right. That top 5 is so important, and it's even more important than depth when it comes to the playoffs. So I totally agree with you there when it comes to that 5. Yeah.
What do the Lakers do from here?
Oh, man. They got to...
Because there's not much you could do, too, because of the salary.
They're not flexible.
So everything you're going to get is guys on the veterans minimum. Cheap plug. You know, that's one of the reasons why we have the name as it is. But that's about it, right? And how many guys can you get that can make an impact to come in and take less money like that?
Here's something that's not being talked about as well as much. I don't think guys in the NBA really want to play with those heliocentric type players that always need the basketball, whether it may be Trey, whether it may be Luka, whether it may be LeBron. I think players, and I think the NBA is trending towards a league where we need all 12 guys on the same page, and maybe your star player blends in better with the rest of your team instead of being that total focal point, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I don't know if guys want to play with those guys, but those guys are so good at what they do, they give their team a chance as an offensive hub to win a championship. But as I said, I'm not sure that free agents really want to go there. But there is the lure of L.A.,
right,
which everybody wants to live in L.A.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad at them about that. So we'll see what develops.
I know, man. I was doing a show with my guy Joe Fan over in Vegas. And he was like, yo, how's the weather over in New York? I was like, bro, like two Fridays ago, it was like 70.
That was great.
And then we got snow on Tuesday.
I think I saw your boy Nick on that day. It was 70.
He told me that you guys looked up. You guys were like,
yeah.
But it's just, I mean, I can't blame anyone wanting to live in Miami or in L.A.
Not at all.
You mentioned about flowing with the team, and I agree with that because I also feel like the most successful teams that I've seen has always been the ones where, like, yeah, there's stars on it, but they kind of like the Spurs, right? Like, I mean, you had 3, 4 Hall of Famers.
100%.
I feel like Boston is like that.
They're getting better at that because their players were more isocentric, and I feel like they're doing a better job. Their defense has been phenomenal, a better job of being a little bit less isocentric, and because that was always their issue, man. Like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were just taking turns, and they're doing a lot better job of taking that spot up shot and playing together. You're right. And you mentioned the Spurs. Memphis is like Spurs 2.0 in my opinion, the way they're blending. And we're going to get to the awards because I think I got 2 guys who win the awards from the Memphis organization today. But they're just doing a great job of blending their star player with their role players and just getting high-quality guys, high-quality characters in the building, guys that work hard, guys that know what team means, you know, just like the Spurs did. I think they're Spurs 2.0. We got to see how they sustain it. But it's great to see their success.
Yeah, for sure. Memphis has been a revelation this year. I know they were a trendy pick for a team that can make some noise, but no one thought 2 seed. Like, they're locked into the 2 seed, which is a hell of a seed for them.